Like, yeah, that'd take much, wouldn't it?
Boozy Spirits with Matt Ray and Justin Grimble.
Boozy Spirits live in the studio. We have a special guest here.
He's over there taking selfies.
He is.
We gotta make sure we record that
That's
we're
right.
here, right?
We have Kyle South. Your official title is President and CEO of the West Alabama Chamber of Commerce. Is that
That
correct?
is correct. That is correct. So thank you guys for allowing me to come on. I
Yes,
know
sir.
we've been talking about it for
a while.
months,
We have.
and
Glad-
ended up
glad.
having Jim back on
Yeah,
before I
yeah.
got to come on.
Yeah, try to get y'all to wrestle. It didn't work out.
So, no, I appreciate the opportunity. So, y'all giving me a little bit of time and taking it easy on the lightweight over here, okay? So,
Hey,
we had to.
we got water
rules of the
also.
game. Rules of the game on the front end, you know? So,
Whatever happens.
That's right.
We've been
But-
there before.
Yeah. Yes, we have. So tell us a little bit about you. I know you were a politician in a previous life.
reformed politician is the best way I like to refer to it these days. But yeah, so it served, actually elected to 3 terms in the Alabama State Legislature, served those first 2 and a year into the 3rd term, and the opportunity with the chamber came about, and I've been smiling ever since.
Was that a hard decision to make, or?
So, you know, we I feel like the work that we did in Montgomery was really good and was impactful for the district. There were a lot of positive aspects for it, but it also took time away from family and all those kinds of things, spread pretty thin. And the chamber opportunity honestly let me stay involved in those policy kind of discussions
Yeah.
while being closer to home and hopefully continuing to make an impact on the community.
Did you get to hang out with old Fitzgerald?
Yeah, I get to hang out with Fitzgerald a little bit. You know, the executive branch and the legislative branch, you know, everybody thinks that we work really closely together. Didn't have many of those opportunities early on, but when the pandemic hit, obviously the Department of Labor was a central focus of a lot of that, and had a lot of constituents that were very interested in what was going on, you know, over there. And, that relationship got closer through that process.
Keep trying to get him on, but he gives me the whole elected versus appointed.
Yeah.
So since he's appointed, he's got to.
It's a little different, I think.
I don't know. I don't buy it. I think he's just saying that.
Right.
He's got a constituency basically of 1 though, you know, as opposed to
That's true.
you know 40,000 like we had in the House, or you know 135 in the Senate. So
I heard Abby likes to drink.
no comment.
Try to get her on.
no comment. Somebody might
awesome.
see us
I
talking
heard.
about that.
Reliable source told me.
So
And there's nothing wrong with that, you know, as long as you don't make a lot of executive decisions while you're intoxicated, I
Maybe.
guess. Or maybe that's better.
Might be better.
yeah, hey,
No.
you know nothing wrong with a little relaxation from time to time, and a little bit of the spirit to help you with that.
Definitely.
It's true. I mean, I guess you get a little inebriated. You can't make decisions, but I don't think Biden's that much better. So
Maybe he needs a drink.
I don't know, or less.
Or less. So what's the difference between a state representative and a state senator as far as what they do?
So it really boils down to the size of the constituency, the geographical area that you serve. There is 105 members of the House versus 35 members of the Senate. And really the function of the job is almost completely the same,
Really?
just within a larger body. So, you know, back in the day, he was asked, "Hey, is that something that's a goal of yours?" And I'm like, "No, not at all. 3 times the headaches. You know, they're paying us all the same to go down there,
Right.
And in all honesty, like as you moved up in leadership in the House, you had just as much." You had just as much of an ability to affect change in the House leadership as you did as a, you know, kind of everyday senator. So that's the way I always thought about it. You know, the longevity of what you could do down there helped get you into a place where you could really affect policy and do things for your district.
You think that helped you with the chamber stuff to get you?
Oh, absolutely. You know, prepared for. Look, I'll be honest with you. I mean, the chamber world, you got a smaller constituency, but it's still very political in a lot of ways.
Right.
And in order to do the job correctly, you got to know when you can push back and know when you can support things, and you've got to be a voice for business.
Yeah.
And that, unfortunately, kind of in today's time, is a lot of the frustrations that I saw down in Montgomery was you don't have as much of that. You know, traditionally the Republican Party was kind of that, you know, stand up for business kind of thing, and it's become more of a, you know, populist type logic in those decisions, and some of that's frustrating.
I'm sure, absolutely. And speaking of the chamber, actually, Barkley got us hooked up with our guys behind us.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
we got some other special guests.
You can see him popping on the camera back there. And so Barkley hooked us up with Dr. D, who
Yeah,
they're having class with. Sean and Vince. Can't see them.
They're helping on our social media, and
They're not the homeless guys. They're our live audience.
and they're not drinking either. Not water, at least.
Yeah. But Barkley hooked us up with that. So
yeah. Barkley's does a good job for us. I've been pleasantly surprised at how the team has accepted me so warmly over the last 7 months, and I would like to think that we haven't skipped a beat. Obviously, Jim left some big shoes to fill.
Definitely.
Was a good friend to the community, but to me personally. And, you know, we want to keep sustaining that trajectory that he had the chamber on, and staying involved in, you know, local decisions and, you know, kind of pointing out the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then selling our community to the outside world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really where we're at. And I would say that, you know, having a couple of students here, you know, that's one of my biggest priorities going forward is, you know, 60% of our student population over there at the university is out of state. And what can we do to keep that talent here in town beyond those 4 years of their education? Because it gives us some huge opportunities when it comes to recruiting, knowing that talent pipeline is already there.
We definitely like their money for 4 years, but if we can keep them here and keep that money going,
that's right.
that would be amazing.
that's the same thing we talked about with Mayor Maddox and Kip, like all the pop stroke and different stuff they're bringing to Tuscaloosa that makes people want to stay here instead of going somewhere else like Jim went to Huntsville.
So
That's why he went. He had stuff to do.
You know, the world's become flatter, and the pandemic only amplified all of that. So, you know, people are making decisions based off quality of life. You know, all of that even before what job they want to take.
Yeah.
You know, and so much of the job market's becoming mobile, and so you have more opportunities to make those decisions based on where you want to be.
So last year we had 2 girls that helped us, or
I did, and I had
helped eat my beets, and they decided they were moving to Denver before they even had a job.
Right.
But I mean, that's where they were going.
Yeah,
Of course, they got great jobs there, but that was their first decision, was where they're going.
Well, and I also think back to Barkley. You know, Barkley is very involved in alumni association, those kinds of things. But you know, the boomerangs. You know, a student may want to go to Nashville or Dallas or Atlanta or whatever for a few years, but when they finally decide to settle down and start a family and those kinds of things, that's also an opportunity that we have here locally that, you know, it's harder in some of those metropolitan areas.
This is a great place for a family.
No
Small
doubt.
kids.
No doubt. So, you know, a lot to look forward to. I think we got some huge opportunities throughout our community and region, and on to bigger and better things.
I like it.
Got a water park coming.
We do have a water park. We got your new tequila place opening up.
The Tequila Resort.
Yes. When is that? This week? Next week?
Probably next week.
Okay.
getting there.
I was in there looking at the construction
Looks amazing.
just earlier this week. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Looks completely different now. We did a lot of work over the last few days, so
yeah,
step by step getting there. We got the church bar coming.
We call it the sanctuary, but yes.
That's what I got to
It's-
tell Nikki. That's what it's going to be called.
I think we're going to have some cool places in town to keep some of these younger kids, I
Yeah.
hope.
you know, the Techstars thing that's coming to town
Yep.
in the fall, you know, the first iteration of that, focusing on all the research that's going on campus. Man, that presents so many opportunities for our community in that knowledge-based space.
What is that? I'm a dumbass. I don't know what that is. Matt's O'Hare Green.
Techstars is
I know you
a
know.
world-renowned, basically business incubator.
Oh, I thought it was a laser tag place.
Yeah.
That would be,
Sounds
that would be
sounds
cool.
like Texar. Sounds like Texar laser tag.
So
my
they
hopes up.
will focus on water technologies and sustainability.
Water park.
Maybe.
It could come in handy.
But they'll recruit all around the world companies to come here
Okay.
that are kind of in those initial stages, you know, early, and help incubate them, coach them, mentor them, and help them grow their business.
Is that in the chamber?
No, so this
Different. I know y'all have some kind of
it's
business
standalone.
incubator kind of thing.
We do. So the edge is over there
Yeah, okay,
to
yeah.
facilitate a lot of that, which hopefully there would be a natural migration from Techstars over to the edge, and then potentially, you know, something bigger and better. But yeah, you know, this was something that was started before I came on board. Justice Smith over at EDA kind of led the charge on that. We got some state funding for the administrative costs of it, and man, you know, all you need is one of those to hit a home run.
That's right.
You know, we were up in Matt, you and I were up in Raleigh, and you know, Red Hat in Raleigh was kind of one of those things that made that entire region explode in the IT world. So,
And just the youth up there and just the money. I mean, you can just tell the money's just flowing in the
crazy.
technology world.
Yeah. The craziest takeaway from that entire trip this past summer was the fact that the junior college there in Wake County, Wake Tech, had an enrollment of 75,000 students. And most of those were full-time employees of some of those companies in that IT space that were sending their employees back to get re-credentialed or upskilling them in some way.
That's awesome.
And that's
cool.
you know, maybe to a lesser scale, but that's
Yeah.
the goal, right?
Yep.
Diversify what we have. I mean, our manufacturers are awesome, but we can't put all our eggs in one basket either.
Do you think Shelton State could step in on a role like that? As
Oh,
far as-
absolutely.
yeah.
They're there to serve in whatever.
I mean, I know
Yeah.
the university can,
Yeah.
but
well, I think it takes everybody.
It
too.
does, yeah.
Stillman can be a part of that too.
Yep.
You know, they're focusing a lot on cyber over there and doing some things in combination with the university, and maybe, you know, things that we didn't think could happen 15, 20 years ago. And they're doing it all to make the experience better for the students, but also to deliver for business and industry.
You think like all your background, the stuff in Montgomery, that help you with the chamber too, like some connections and being able to bring stuff to Tuscaloosa and people you met and whatnot.
No question, especially on the policy side of things. So, you know, we're constantly having conversations with state government about what we can, you know, help to do here, what things are happening in Montgomery that can come here, but also at the federal level too.
Yeah.
Although I didn't serve with our federal delegation, did have relationships there. And in a post-Shelby world,
yeah.
we're going to need to lean on those guys more than ever. We were awfully spoiled because, hey, look, if you had a need, you make one phone call and could get it done.
Make it happen.
Those days are over, and we've got to spread that love to hopefully incrementally get back to that point.
That makes sense.
So,
That's probably why Jim left. He knew you were coming.
no, that is
He didn't
not.
have those connections.
That's true.
I think he had plenty of connections. So,
But you know who to talk to make stuff happen.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
who to get it in front of.
Yeah.
To make it a little more positive. or
Not always going to
odds
have
better.
the answers, but hopefully can point into directions that can lead to answers. So, and we've got some big hurdles in the community too. You know, I mean, there's some needs out there. We're not going to be able to do it alone. A lot of those are going to have to come in combination with our state and federal governments, and so it's a team sport. You know, that's the one thing that I think people don't understand enough about, like what we did in the legislature. Like, you can't do anything by yourself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can say what you want to, but going and having a cocktail after a long night of session, you get more done there than I could do, you know, because I needed 53 votes to do anything.
Yeah.
So
You build those relationships,
that-
just
sure.
like
No-
just like
no
work,
question. Yeah.
business.
Just like me and Matt with Boozy Spirits. We're like the socialites now, Tuscaloosa.
right, yeah.
We're the influencers.
I don't know about any of that, but yeah.
Might be. That's what you told me. He might have been drinking. It does help though.
So who would we talk to for like some ABC law changes? Alabama's got some very
Archaic laws.
yes. I was trying to be the politically correct way to say it, but yeah.
That was my first time.
Yeah, it's complicated. But you know, we've got a former chamber employee, Al Spencer's on the ABC
Yes,
board.
love Al.
Good guy, doing some good things. New director down there at ABC, and it'll be interesting to kind of see how that brings about change.
I heard Gilbo's leaving.
Really?
I don't know if that's public knowledge, but yeah,
Well, now it is,
now it is.
especially since y'all are influencers.
It's true.
I have not heard that. So.
I mean, fuck it.
Maybe he's not.
He's going to Johnson Brothers. He's taking a position there. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell people that. I don't really care.
Somebody told you, so you're telling somebody else.
That's right. Third hand.
Yeah. So he's taking a position with Johnson Brothers.
Okay. He's a good guy.
He is.
was always very helpful when I was down there. And we had a couple of issues. One that I helped you guys with
serving, yeah.
18-year-old servers, you know.
That was
Something that
huge.
was kind of,
Yeah.
to me, was a little bit ridiculous. You know, you go into a grocery store and a 14 or 15-year-old can
Yeah.
bag your beer into a bag, but I can't walk from that bar to right here with it in
Yeah. So
a
stupid.
restaurant
Yeah.
setting,
Makes
Yeah.
no sense.
capped or not. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean, just kind of crazy, archaic, like you said.
Yeah.
So, and I do think, like, even through the pandemic, there were things, you know, they loosened a lot of
yeah.
laws to be able to sell from restaurants and those kinds of things because you couldn't go in and
Yeah.
enjoy and whatever. I think there are statistics out there that show you that DUIs went down. Like, some things were actually better because of the things they learned through the
Yeah,
pandemic.
that's what we had a lot of pushback when we did the to-go margaritas.
Yeah.
Because people told us, like, oh, well, if somebody's going to have a DUI, they're getting a margarita, they're drinking. I was like, it's no different, like you said, going to Publix and buying beer.
What? No,
You can go to Publix and buy a six-pack and go drink it in the car.
but there's
Yeah.
an argument
Yeah.
to be made that, like, you're way better off taking
going-
it home
Yeah.
Yeah.
than to sit
But
there
these were
and
the
Sit
people-
there and drink
all
it there.
and-
But these were the people that are against it. They're like,
Right.
they're going to be drinking in the car.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was like, yeah, but like you said, like they're going to come to my restaurant and have a bunch
Right.
and then drive home.
Right.
They
Yeah.
just drink one driving home.
yeah.
I was like, plus that's on them. That's not us. We give it to them sealed. If they
Yeah.
open it, like,
Right.
we can't control that.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, in Louisiana, what is it? A
Little piece of tape.
paper
Yeah.
straw
Yeah.
top is considered sealed.
Sealed, yeah.
So
It is crazy.
yeah, but
You also brought some presents here.
yeah, I had to. I couldn't come empty-handed, so I didn't get to go by the house first. So I just grabbed some things on the way. So more to come.
Very cool.
Justin and I are trying to work out some trades on the
Trade
side.
deals. That one's
like
really
that.
good. Make sure it's
I'm
American
kind of a fan
whiskey.
to this one.
I've never had that one before. It's really good.
Yeah. So I heard about it, read about it
Most admired whiskey.
some point back a few years ago. So I got a couple bottles of that at home too.
And you let Kyle try the tequila he won't open.
What's that now?
Oh, the jalapeno?
jalapeno
yeah,
too.
Yeah.
Let's
So,
give him a tiny sip of it.
my-
Since he don't
my-
want to open his.
My palate is not to a point where I can tell the difference
You can tell-
between
you
the
can
really,
tell he's a politician.
really good stuff. And so
Yeah, you can.
I don't open the expensive stuff. Keep it on the shelf. You guys, I think you've opened everything.
Open everything. That's my problem.
Yeah. And if Justin doesn't like it, he just brings it here and he's like, "Hey, you drink it."
Try this.
Yeah, like this. He didn't like it. Look at that.
Yeah.
So I did. Where'd you
Two
put that
sips
other
out of
bottle
that.
I gave you?
It's probably at the house.
That Pappy 15. We killed that one for my birthday.
Okay. All right.
So
Yeah.
it's empty. I could sell it on eBay for $100.
Probably.
Empty.
Yeah, probably so.
You can.
I brought my Pappy T-shirt,
yeah?
but I didn't put it on.
Poncho looks
Yeah,
better.
poncho's better. So,
Did you ever wear a poncho like in the state? Like when
I
you're
don't
boating
recall.
or anything?
Yeah, I
or
don't recall
speaking
that one.
or-
Yeah. So poncho with a tie.
It probably look cool. That's good. I like
I
that.
guess it might,
Yeah.
kind of.
I think you'd get maybe some laughter or
I
something.
almost wore this to the city council. I thought about it, but I didn't have it. It was over here in the studio.
Yeah.
Well, the sport coat and the shorts.
Dude, that did. You
I
nailed it.
didn't see your shoe game because that would be the
It
other.
was just some New Balance, some dad shoes.
Okay.
shoes.
Well, even that's
Anyway, I should have wore some funky shoes. Hey, Walt liked it.
yeah. Got a comment.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was that? El Sasquatcho.
Love it.
Made Gio a nervous wreck. I'm sure.
He's used to it.
Did you ride with Gio? He picked you up, or
No, we
you
walked.
Did you?
He was only a
Okay.
block over. So.
Yeah. So that's good stuff.
That's what I thought. I got a sports coat. He's like, "The hell are you wearing?" I was like, "Cool."
I could see.
He didn't really bat an eyelash. He's used to it.
Oh yeah. At this point,
20-something years, he's like, "Give up."
but it was city council.
So
You did have a sports coat on.
I did. In shorts. And the Sasquatch T-shirt.
And everything went well. So
Yeah.
he can't
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
complain or
Yeah. It wasn't like, "Oh, this guy's unprofessional."
right. Yeah. They probably seen worse.
I'm sure.
So
I mean, I'd wear the same thing if I was going in front of Ivy or president or whoever. Like, that's just
Yeah.
who I am. Like,
yeah,
Stephen Biden,
yeah.
would you?
he may not kind of notice anyway.
Wouldn't.
So
wouldn't care.
since you're a politician and all, and it's an
Oh.
election year,
Yeah, election year.
you excited about our two choices?
We were talking earlier. It's kind of look. I know there's a ton of Trump supporters out there. There's a ton of people that are totally diabolically opposed to everything. His policy to me were fairly good.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody in the press office should have taken Twitter away at some point. But I just wish we could get to a point where surely there's a couple of guys out there that are not in their 80s that could lead the country.
And maybe in the middle
Yeah.
instead of on these far extremes.
So I think social media, a lot of things are leading us to a point where, those extremes on both sides have more of a platform. 80 to 90% of the country is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, those extremes have more of a voice than they ever have before.
Yeah.
And it's concerning. I mean, let's just
How
be
do
real.
we get out of this that we're in right now?
A meteor. Hit the earth.
I don't know.
Some kind of aliens help us out or something?
I don't know. You go look back in history, and there's been historical events that have brought us back together as
Right.
a country. I hope we don't have to go down some of those roads.
Yeah, for
you know
sure.
what I mean? We were on a family trip last week for spring break and did the 9/11 museum and all those kinds of things. Tragedy shouldn't have to be what
Right.
brings us back together, but oftentimes it is.
What takes?
Yeah, and in my lifetime, I'm not sure that the country was ever closer together than kind of post that,
I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah.
and that's sad.
It is.
And we lose sight of that way too quick.
Yeah. If you really want to go down a rabbit hole, and you guys can look up this one too. I went down today. They took the eclipse.
Goodness.
The eclipse from the last time and this time, how they converge, and they're firing up the CERN proton thing. NASA's firing rockets at it. There's all kind of crazy shit happening with it.
Really?
Yeah. I think Israel, one of those, they're going to like sacrifice a lamb or something to bring in the New World Order, like some crazy shit. It was a rabbit hole, but I encourage y'all.
I try to stay.
Look up the
I try to
total
stay,
eclipse rabbit hole.
I try to stay out of the rabbit
Yeah.
holes.
That's my life. I love it.
You know, the lot of international strife right now.
Yeah.
That's all concerning. All of it is, you know, having its effects on presidential race and Congress and all the things that are going on there. But I totally think what you know decides the election this coming November are gas prices and grocery store prices. I mean,
Stuff that affects us every
what
day.
affects the average person on a daily basis that they can see and apply to their own life. And you know, look, the stock market always does better when there's one party in control of Congress and the other party's in control of the administration, and there's more gridlock, and you know, you get more consistency and all those kinds of things. So we could talk about 100 different angles of what that looks like, but
That makes sense.
I truly think it boils down to how it affects the, you know, what are you in better shape than you were 4 years ago?
Yeah.
And, you know, are those things hitting you in the back pocket? And I think even today or yesterday there were, you know, inflation reports that came out that showed that it really isn't cooling off a whole lot.
Yeah.
You know, and the policies that they're trying to, you know, counter that with are
Not helping.
Yeah.
maybe not helping you.
I know we see it a little with our expansion. I know Matt definitely sees it with his construction. Just prices just insane.
Yeah. And interest rates.
Nobody
yeah.
wants interest rates to
No.
go up, but if that's what has to go up in order to kind of calm the inflation for a period of time, you know.
You don't have any savings because you had to use it all to buy gas,
It's true.
your diesel.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I think times have changed too. So maybe the policies of yesteryear are not as effective in a global, technical, you know,
Yeah.
mobile economy as they once were.
I feel like that your Googles and your Apples and your Metas, your big companies are almost like the new politics, almost like the new people that control what the narrative is. But I don't know.
An X,
Yeah.
Elon's X. That's where I get all my
I
rabbit
forgot.
holes.
Yeah. Dude, you can go on a rabbit hole on X for sure.
Dude. So
Need something else to drink, Kyle?
yeah, look, we need more of what did we call this?
Addicted to the booty.
Addicted to the booty. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where that.
I got no more made up. I need to let you try the real one. You like cinnamon?
Yeah.
Get them some of that.
Okay.
So this is Cinnamon Toast Crunch that I soaked in Buffalo Trace for a few days
Okay.
In a mason jar.
in a mason jar in my kitchen.
I don't.
I
Yeah.
got you.
So we've got to talk about Final Four too.
Yeah.
I mean, these two guys come in over here, sporting the stashes, and Grant Nelson and company brought the stash back this year.
Yeah.
So, but a heck of a run, man. I was that kid, you know, grew up just up the road in Fayette. My dad was a bigger basketball fan than he was football, and it helped that Wimp had some really good teams in the early 90s and those kinds of things. So, huge basketball fan. We came to almost every game, you know, be able to watch Ori and Sprewell and,
Yeah.
you know, James Robinson.
And Wimp,
all
he had
kind
that
of stuff.
personality.
Oh,
he had the following.
Listen, they could have been terrible.
They could.
And it was coming to watch the show,
Yeah.
right? And so grew up enjoying that. You know, they had all those Sweet 16 runs and never could really get over the hump. And then the year after I graduated from Alabama, we get to the Elite Eight in 2004 with probably, no offense to those guys, but not the best team that Gottfried had within that era. And then this year, man, you get a good draw. You know, we probably matched up better with North Carolina than any other one seed in the country, and then Clemson knocks off Arizona and gives us a path. And I was at that Clemson game early in the season when they beat our ears in, and just to see how that team and coaching philosophy and all that kind of stuff has grown over the course of the season.
They're in their
Awesome.
groove right now, which is when
Awesome.
you want them to
Yeah.
be in their groove.
No doubt. But I mean, I was talking with somebody earlier today, like, even for Oates, last year's team was way more talented. I would even argue that 3 years ago with Herb and those guys was probably more talented too.
Yeah.
It's just putting it all together
have
at the
the
right
team.
time.
Yeah.
And timing. That team last year in January, it's crazy to say there's NBA teams that couldn't have beat them, but
Right.
like they were playing far and away better than anybody in the country. And then, turbulence. So,
It's kind of same with the football program this past year too.
yeah.
Hit like a lull and then
Yeah,
came
that's
back.
right.
Kind of
Yeah.
same with basketball.
So, and so we got a lot going on, university related. Final Four this weekend,
Yep.
A-Day next weekend.
Trying to petition, send it to Walt and Oates and everybody to build a statue of Nate Oates.
Yeah.
Need one.
I'll tell you, if he wins a national championship, that might happen. It should happen.
No, I got the one where he's like shaking the hand.
Yeah.
Was it the LSU game?
Yeah. Oh yeah, with nobody on the other side. Yeah. That was
So I got a
awesome.
picture. I even made it look gold and everything. Walt liked it.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you, if Nate wins it all, they need a statue.
Well, it's coming. I mean, he's getting the talent in here year in and year out.
It is crazy.
And they need a new arena.
Need a new arena, baby. Love to see that public-private,
Yeah.
Rupp Arena type something, but maybe that's
What happened with the water park?
far-fetched.
Public-private.
See, I knew I shouldn't have gone there. But yeah, if he continues to bring that kind of talent in there, only way we got to go is up. And it's kind of crazy. I think he's found a recipe of combining some old guys with new guys and transfers, and he seems to have it pretty
sure.
figured out. I mean, more so than Cal up there at Kentucky. I mean, he's getting all these 5-star kids and
Can't do nothing
he
with
can't do anything with it.
So what degree did you graduate UA with?
So I was in marketing too.
Okay.
Yeah. So in marketing at Alabama, never thought I would go back and run a family business. We were in telecommunications business, and my grandfather that owned and started the business passed away my last semester at Alabama. And so I decided to go back and help out. Thought it would be temporary, and ended up staying 17 years doing that. And when my grandmother passed away, we as a family decided that it was a good time to divest. You saw so much consolidation in that area going on, and so we did that, and grateful for it, grateful for the time that I had there, grateful for the fact that I got to spend quality time in a family business, which you learn a hell of a lot.
Probably
Maybe-
more than you learn at the university.
or in a corporate setting,
Right,
right?
yeah.
So it was a good time, but I also was ready for kind of that next phase, that next challenge, those kinds of things. So that's a tough world. When the government started getting more involved in the broadband space and those kinds of things, I was like, we've either got to dive head first into that, all those conversations.
Spend a lot of money, I'm sure.
Spend a lot of money, hire consultants and full-time attorneys and all those kinds of things, or we got to let somebody else do it.
Yeah.
Because it's really not fair to our customers in those areas that are more rural for us not to be pulling down these dollars and, going on a building spree.
I got some stuff happened one day with the FCC. I'll give you the quick.
Because of this?
No, that's probably coming soon.
I'm sure it is coming.
The quick version was Giovanni bought his brother in Colombia a phone, paid it off. $1,500 iPhone. They said you got to have a 30-day contract, then you can cancel it. So 30 days was up. He called me like, "Hey, call." It was on our business line. "Hey, call and cancel this number because we don't need it." Called and canceled it. Told his brother, "You're good to go." Brother called back, said it's still locked. Called AT&T back. They're like, "Oh, it's 60 days." I was like, went back and forth with them. I was like, just reactivate the damn thing. We'll do 30 more days. Well, you canceled it, so now it's 60 from today.
Oh,
And like, I was doing it because it's under my name, so I was handling it for Giovanni. I'm like, no. So I went back and forth with him. So I just sent a letter to the email to FCC, somebody, and told them what happened. I got a phone call from the president of AT&T in Dallas, Texas.
Wow.
In 30 minutes, it was fixed.
Wow.
Make stuff happen.
I don't know if you've ever had him like text or email.
Man.
He doesn't stop.
Okay.
I don't. I'm persistent.
Very.
Yeah.
And it works out great.
does.
Most of the time.
Almost every time.
I think so.
I'll look up, like, because I have a criminal justice background. So I'll get, like, CEOs, all the people, and I'll just send a mass email to the whole board of directors.
Yeah.
Copy everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, it works.
It does.
Like, you know, I will say, totally different thing, but like looking up and trying to find somebody's email address and just sending them random out there. I got 2 stories on that topic. So we were going up to a Duke-Syracuse game in Cameron Indoor. It was one of those bucket list things. I wanted to go to a game at Cameron Indoor, and had an opportunity through the cable company to go with Fox Sports because they had the ACC network and all that kind of stuff. And so go up there, and I'm like, heck, man. We were dealing with a high school athletic association deal in Montgomery at the time, and Jay Billis had talked about it on ESPN Game Day and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I'm going to fire him a note, you know. So I Google search and find his email address that was actually his email address and shoot him an email that's like, hey, I'm coming up for a game, like, you know,
Help a brother out.
Yeah.
cool to meet up or something like that, or tell us where to go, you know, give us, never been there. And he sends back, he's like, hey, here's my cell number. Hit me up before the game. We'll take you on a tour of the Coliseum, whatever. So we get up there, and a couple hours prior to the game or whatever, he sends an email or sends me a text back, and he's like, hey, look, running behind. He's like, but text me at halftime. And he was like, we'll have you up in, you know, their press row is in the ceiling. So they call the Duke games out of the ceiling. He's like, we'll have you up here. Nice. I was like, this is going to be cool. So we go up into the nest. They call it like the bird's nest or something, and take a photo and hang out with them during halftime. That's awesome. Kinds of things. It's pretty cool. So the other story is a little bit, and I found it truly unbelievable, but it goes to show people in high places tend to be very responsive, right? I mean, they got there for a reason. Yeah, but had a speaking engagement that was asked to come talk in San Francisco way back in the day about generational cable companies. So, you know, a third generation cable company, and they were talking about, wanted us to have this panel at this conference that talked about kind of the transition. So if you think about the cable industry, it didn't start until like 1965. So it's not old in the grand scheme of things. And so the panel right after us was Mark Cuban when he had HD nets and all that kind of stuff. And he hands a card over, and he's like, look, man, I answer all my own emails, like I do everything. So I got back home, and I was like, I'm going to fire him an email. Well, sure enough, he popped it. I mean, within 2 minutes, he's popping back, answering the questions. And
he's like, you want to invest? You're like, no, I'm good.
No. But you know what we did? We signed up for HD nets.
Nice.
So he got a sale out of it.
That's what my wife always tells people. Don't give Justin your email because he'll fucking email you the next day. And I will.
Yeah, you will.
That's what I think.
Sipping on cereal over here.
That's good stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not bad.
I think I told you the story about the Don Julio tequila and the Diageo. Did I tell you all that?
No, I don't think so.
All right, I'll give you a quick version because I can sit here and we could have a show about that one. So our tequila that we had, basically they screwed up. It sat in Montgomery for like 2 weeks because ABC was like, it's on the truck. Didn't show up. It's on the truck. Didn't show. I was like, I'll just go pick it up. I called Brian Gilbo. I'm like, can I get it? He's like, no, you can't get it. The rep has to get it. I'm like, well, my rep's out of town. I will drive, pick it up, put it in my truck, drive to ABC in Tuscaloosa, take it off the truck, pay for it, and put it back on my truck. Whatever I have to do, I want to sell it. It's like $15,000 in tequila. So he let me do that. I get back home. All the labels, all the hang tags are spelled wrong. which is not on ABC. That's on
Right,
Diageo,
right.
the parent company.
Yeah.
I called my rep. I was like, going through the chain. Like, they couldn't. They're like, oh, I'm so sorry. We'll get something the next day. Back and forth. So I told my rep, like, hey, can I send an email? Like, I'm pretty, like Matt say, I'm known for this. She's like, I don't want to know about it, but go ahead. She calls me the next morning and said, what the hell did you do? You have started a global shitstorm. My boss's boss said, how the hell did Justin get the CEO in London's email? She is pissed off.
My God.
He's like, you cussed out the CEO of Diageo, because I told her, like, I'm fucking pissed off. I was like, what's it matter,
Right.
I sent the whole board of directors, the CEO. They said every CEO in the world got a copy of your email. The vice president, or the regional vice president, wants to fly down and meet you and kiss your ass.
And the whole time, Gio is a nervous wreck.
Gio didn't know, did he? Did he
Yeah,
know?
he loved it. He loved it. He knows
Because the
what I
shit
can
got
do.
handled.
Yeah. But then, so fast forward, me and Matt went to Dickel, who's owned by Diageo. I called the rep, like, hey, can we get a tour? Yeah, no problem. We'll get you a tour. $30 tour,
Yeah.
So we do the tour, and the old guy doing the tour leans up to me and Matt said, hey, all these people leave. We're going to go on a real fucking tour. And Matt's like, what are we doing? I'm like, I have no idea.
Was this just a month or
Yeah,
two
yeah.
ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
That
was
was the one that Nikki was complaining about,
Probably.
you coming back into town? Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we did the tour, we were fixing to drive back home, and he's like, we're going to go on a real tour. He's like, let's go get my truck. For 2.5 hours, we went behind the scenes. We went in the rick houses, went in like the government warehouses, the bottling. And the whole time
Pulled
we
a
had,
barrel out,
Yeah.
drank 15-year-old Dickel right
Straight
there
out
in the
in the- in the-
warehouse.
Okay.
like, we had no idea what was happening. So I called my rep after. He's like, oh yeah, I hooked you up. He's like, I still owe you. Which was like, goes back like you're saying, like, just because I sent the email,
Right.
it wasn't my fault. They screwed up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to take it because I was like, this is a lot of money.
Right.
And
Yeah.
y'all,
Yeah.
y'all-
But it's good to see people take,
and like you said, that's the high people. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And-
can make
and
that happen.
I didn't hear from the CEO, but I know they're like, she got your email.
She
and
got it.
She
to
sent
some-
it.
whoever
Yeah.
needed
You're like,
to
who
get
the
it.
hell is this?
She's like,
person?
make this
You
bastard
could
never
tell she
email
was
me.
listening to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that means a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, even as an elected official, that means
Yeah.
a ton.
Yeah.
That you're responsive to the people that you serve.
Yeah.
And you're probably more loyal to them now as far as buying stuff.
Yeah. Then even like, not really, but
And I noticed, like, through that and business and everything, like, if you're upfront with people, even if you tell them, hey, I can't help you,
Right.
like, they appreciate that more than
Honestly.
stringing
Yeah.
it along.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
You know?
That's what I was gonna say. I had a
Yeah.
issue the other night with our online ordering at Jalapenos.
Yeah.
They called me and said, hey, this customer called. They said they ordered something $36. When they got home, they checked their bank statement. It went through 40 times.
Holy cow.
So of course, their account's overdrawn. They're pissed
Right.
off.
Yeah.
It was 9:30 at night. I was like, I'll call them. So I
Yeah.
called. She was nice, but you can tell she was freaking out. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, she's like, but I was like, I don't care if you have thousands of dollars or $10. Like, it shouldn't
Right.
be 40 times.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm looking on my end. I can't figure nothing out. And then like she was like, yeah, they said the manager was gonna call me. I appreciate it. I was like, well, I'm actually the owner. And she's
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I didn't mean to bother you at your house. I'm like, no man, like this,
Right.
I
It's
was
a
like,
big
this is
deal.
why I called you
Yeah.
at 9:30 at night, not saying like, hey, Matt, call that person. Like
Yeah.
I was like, I wanted to make sure because that's a big mess up. Well, it ended up being the credit union's fault. It wasn't our
Mm-hmm. Right.
fault.
Yeah.
That's some banking error that charged a bunch of people.
Yep.
But they were like, oh, we're gonna be loyal to you forever. Like, they're like, we're telling all our friends, hey, the owner called me at 9:30 at night when he was at home.
No
I was
doubt.
It
like-
makes a difference.
It
Yeah, I was
does.
like, I didn't want to push it off and be like, oh, whatever,
Yep.
We got tons of customers. I ain't worried about you. I'm like, no, we treat everybody like family. Like,
Yep.
something happened, like, let me take care of it.
Plus, if you're charging them times 40 each time, you want to call them and thank them.
Thank you for all those purchases. But like you said, like she respected that,
Right.
And I just wanted to do the right thing.
Yeah.
I didn't want the hostess like you handle
Well, and
that.
the longer you let that sit there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It
So, yeah.
could have been a whole.
Yeah.
That's what
It
me and
would've been
Giovanni
a
were talking about. It
big
could have been a
deal.
whole social media blow
Right.
up that Jalapenos
Yep.
just robbing us and got pissed off. And then once it's out there no matter
Yeah.
what happens.
And you can't control that.
Yeah.
narrative.
Even though like it wasn't
Yeah.
our fault.
Right.
But they were, like you said, going to people at the top, take care of stuff instead
Yep.
of just go handle it.
It's amazing. You learn some of those lessons the hard way.
Yeah.
But it does make a difference.
Then speaking, this is total pivot, but politician wise, so is there a hidden closet for liquor for politicians?
Oh, like
Like Pappy?
Like that super
in
allocated stuff.
Montgomery.
Yeah. Or is that like the president's black book kind of stuff?
I plead the fifth.
Let's just ask: is it easier for a politician to get a pappy?
Grimbo is a good friend, okay? And two,
Who's Grimbo?
I mean,
Gilbo?
Gilbo.
Sorry.
He's putting us together.
I'm
Grimbo.
combining there. But, you know, to me, I had a good relationship with ABC because the person that sat in my seat 2 terms prior ended up getting beat in the 2010 cycle and went back to be the assistant director at ABC. So he was down there really, I guess, almost the entire time that I was serving in the legislature. So he was from Fayette, originally from Greenville. They had a chance to move back to Montgomery to take care of family and all that kind of stuff after he had lost a House race. And so I had relationships over there that may or may not have.
Do you think you could get me selected on the lottery, maybe?
Well,
on the ABC lottery?
Hey, and listen, I need to put an asterisk by that because there is not a single thing that I got that I didn't pay for. So that was, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, with the allocated stuff,
Right.
it's not a matter of how much it costs.
Right.
It's availability.
Yeah. Who you know?
And so now they have shifted, and there is no more of that. It is strictly lottery.
Yeah.
And I just want to
that
be
was-
like 250. I don't even care if I'm like top 10.
That was back in the day where the lottery didn't start till 4 or 5 years ago.
I don't even think it was that long.
Couple years.
2 years ago,
Yeah,
maybe.
something like that. So, you know, I think it's good. I wish there were ways that we could adjust policy so that we get
Have it more.
of that
Yeah.
than less. But,
Yeah.
you know, you go to some other states and it's not as hard to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
by.
Just find it on the shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting a little bit better here. I know, like Buffalo Trace, you can find it easier now than you could a few years ago.
You can.
So one thing that I have been paying close attention to, so through the kind of slowdown of the economy, high-end bourbon has been affected more so than anything else.
Yeah.
Like I want to say they said on average it's 20% less than what it was, you know,
Just
kind of the black market
Yeah.
bourbons.
Oh yeah, that's a huge deal now.
Yeah.
And I guess it wouldn't be a boozy spirits podcast with a politician if we didn't talk about some cannabis laws.
I love good cannabis laws. Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily your expert.
You don't have to be an expert; you just have the opinion.
You know how it works down in Montgomery. So
So I
just
will.
because
I will
Alabama's so
say,
far behind with
yeah,
how stuff works.
and if you want to keep these young kids, I'm just being honest.
I get it. But you know, I voted for the medical cannabis law that still has not gone into effect.
I guess it's passed, but it didn't go into
It's
effect.
passed,
But it's not program-wise or whatever.
All of the licenses and the process is now
cluster.
being litigated like 100 different ways, and I don't know what the answer
Yeah.
to that. I don't know what the timeline looks like. It's a colossal disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Need to get that kind of fixed. You know, you heard the stories, and look, they were heavy on your heart when bringing
Oh,
a
yeah.
kid in. That,
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're not going over here smoking weed, but you know,
There's definitely a need for
maybe
it.
an injectable type something, and really affected.
Yeah.
You know, their quality of life. So
And I always say, like, when my dad, he's dealing with a bunch of back pain and neuropathy. So somebody told him, you should take these, Delta 8 gummies. They help me a lot. I told him, you can't take those because you're on pain pills.
yeah,
He's like, but it's legal. I'm like, yeah, it's legal. I can go buy them in a gas station and take them. But since you go to a narcotic, you can't. If you get popped, you get popped for a drug test. You'll be
Yep.
screwed.
Yep.
Which sucks for him because I know it would greatly help him.
yeah.
So if they had like a medical program that he could sign up for, and gummies, brownies, whatever, in the middle of the night to help him sleep, help him feel better. Like
Again,
like
I'm
you said, some of
not
those
your expert in that world.
My
but,
back hurts
but,
too.
You know, I do know. You know, there were very broad conversations about what are the next steps and how does this affect business liability and workman's comp liabilities and all these kinds of things. Obviously, other states have kind of figured some of that out.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a perfect case
Right.
study out there yet, but we'll see. I mean, you look at somewhere like Oregon that went even beyond marijuana to other things, and now they're all of a sudden kind of reeling things back in. So
I saw some article about that said that I think it said cocaine and heroin is a gateway drug for cannabis now, and somebody's like, "No, they told me the other way when I was growing up."
I mean,
Exactly.
just crazy. So I don't because of how all the medical stuff has come about and all the problems that have been associated with it, kind of through the implementation process. I think we're a ways away in Alabama.
Well, even like you said, like you were in part of that where they passed it.
Right.
That was what 2-3 years ago.
3
maybe?
years ago,
and it's still not
right. Yeah,
nothing,
nothing.
which is crazy.
Yep.
Will we ever see recreational?
That
In my lifetime?
that's what I'm saying. I think
Right now you're pretty old.
I am.
Until they get all the medical stuff worked out
Yeah.
and implemented, and people start to see that maybe it's not what they thought it would be.
Yeah.
You get conditioned to a lot of that stuff,
If they
and then I think places like Oregon that start reeling that stuff back in actually helps the argument here that, hey, this is as far as we're going.
Right.
We've
Right.
seen where the other end of this conversation.
And even if they did it like a federal whole level, is it still state by state still, or can the federal like implement like?
Listen, I stayed
don't
in a
know how that
Holiday
works.
Inn Express last night, but I'm no attorney, no
got-
constitutional
You
lawyer.
got more knowledge than us on it.
That is true.
I don't know how that would affect.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't know if like
Yeah.
Biden, Trump, whoever was like, hey, weed's legal everywhere
Right.
now.
Yeah.
If Ivy could still say no, not in Alabama.
Yeah. So states
that
have
works.
a big say in
Yeah.
a lot of those things. So, we, I guess in Alabama for a period of time had a higher restriction on even tobacco and cigarette sales than the federal level did. But
Yeah.
then I think we may have even gone. I can't remember how that timing worked out where the federal, raised the age limit, and we kind of followed suit after the fact, if I remember correctly.
I think they should just do like, hey, tomorrow you can buy weed, you can buy lotto tickets, you can buy Pappy on the shelf.
So the gaming thing, just kind of hearing conversations out of Montgomery is the one that's kind of really taking the air out of the room right now. So
You think that will pass?
I would say it's 50-50 at best right now because of the
And by
differences.
passing, that's just allowing us to vote on
correct.
it, right?
Yeah. And so those to me were the easiest votes ever
Yeah.
in the legislature. Is
Put it up to
hey,
the people and
I-
let them decide.
Because there's an argument to be made that if I voted no on a constitutional amendment, that meant that I don't trust my constituents,
yeah.
right? Now, some people would make the other argument is, hey, we elect you to go down there and make decisions
Yeah,
for
based
us,
on, yeah.
but a constitutional amendment requires a referendum.
Yeah.
So you don't get a choice. You
Yeah.
got to send it back to the people to vote on it.
Like-
And so those were always the easiest for me. I voted yes on 99% of them.
Yeah.
Because I trust my folks, right?
Is that out-of-state money? Is that Indian casino money that
so
is keeping that from not happening?
yeah, there's a lot of moving parts there. People think that it's just look, the polling would show that even in a Republican primary, like it's almost 80% of Republican primary voters would support gaming in some fashion. Right. Now, part of the argument comes down to what all does gaming include? Where does the money go? How will it be spent? The state of Alabama has more earmarks than any other state in the country times 2. So we're at like 92% of our revenues that come into the state are earmarked. So they're required to go in, certain places. Michigan, I think, is second at 56%. Wow. And so if you go in, to me, if you go in and earmark all that money, then you still end up with a revenue problem.
Yeah.
Because if you earmark it over here and then all of a sudden there's a need over here at mental health, and you've earmarked
You
it all
can't
for this over
use it.
here, you still got a problem.
Yeah.
So a lot of that conversation gets into it, but then there is a lot of back and forth about, is there restrictions on who can, purchase a license? Do we give favorability to those that have a presence in the state already? and then there's the federal piece of that with the Department of Interior for the tribal lands, and I've always had a really good relationship with the Porch Creek Indians. I think they do some good stuff, and honestly, they're trying to grow their non-gaming economic development revenues up to the level of their gaming ones. I mean, they're making investments all over the state.
Can you do sports betting with them yet?
So you cannot.
Okay.
So sports betting, lottery,
Even on location, you
yeah.
still can't.
Sports betting, table games, and lottery are all considered Class 3 gaming by the federal standard.
Okay.
So if you pass any of those, and that's one thing that people don't understand. So if you pass a standalone lottery,
Goes all of them.
they get all of them because they're in classifications.
Right.
Now, my understanding is there's another court case at the federal level that's maybe going to start
Splitting them up or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Makes sense.
But if you look at precedent in Florida, they did something similar down there and did a compact with the Seminoles down there, and they got table games and on-site, I think is what the legislation says, on-site sports gaming. But they put the servers on site,
Right.
and so now it's
Loophole.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Hard Rock, which is Seminole owned, has the exclusive rights to online sports gaming in Florida. So there is no FanDuel, there is no DraftKings, all that kind of stuff. So, I don't care how they do it. I wish they would.
Yeah.
I like to put in a sports
I hate
bet
not
from-
being able to bet here
from
in
time to
Alabama.
time. But I don't know where it goes. I hope they're transparent through the whole process. And if that's the route they want to take, then
Right.
I
I
don't
love a
care
good
less.
scratch off too. I
So
love it.
I learned a hard lesson when I was a kid about the lottery, and I refused to play. These days, I was with my grandparents in Florida, and my granddad let me, fill out the papers and go up there and hand them in or whatever. And I hit the pick 3 perfect order, and win 500 or 1,000 bucks. And, yeah, and
He took that money.
oh, he took it from me, and he was like, I was like, no, that's my money. That's
I
my
picked
ticket.
those numbers.
I picked those numbers, and he was like, well, you try to cash the damn thing. So I refused.
Got you on those.
I was like 12.
Do you think we'll have some Indian casinos like they have in Louisiana and
So again,
pop up?
you would have to have something pass.
Yeah.
Because as it stands right now, there is no Class 3 gaming in Alabama.
And that would have to be voted on by all the people.
All the people, even to
After
do
it passed.
even to do an extension of the compact. And so what you have to understand with the compact too is a compact with the tribes requires it. The feds require it to be mutually beneficial, so they have to get something out of the deal in order for the state to collect taxes. Of course. So, I mean, fair is fair.
Right.
I get that.
Yeah.
Don't have a problem with it, but again, let's be transparent about it. And
Yeah.
hopefully get something done. If it's not this year, it's coming.
Yeah.
And
I got a real Indian friend that owns a gas station. He'd love some lotto.
yeah,
Like over there, Indian, not
Not Choctaw?
like my argument with the sports gaming stuff has always been a regulated market is much safer for the public than an unregulated market. Because let's be honest,
We can sports bet now.
I can bet right
Exactly.
here, sitting with you guys
Online.
on this.
Oh, yeah.
And so, there's an argument to
Right.
be made. I've got to put that money up front in a regulated market. I'm not with my buddy down the street. Those kinds of things, whatever.
getting a PO box and putting envelopes in it.
Right.
Never did that before.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, and you've seen some cases that in a regulated market, things tend to get flagged.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a safer space.
I agree.
Sure.
And it's happening anyway. And even the like these slot places and the charitable whatever
Bingo place.
yeah
It's gambling. It
is.
looks like almost
And-
like
and
a slot machine. It doesn't look like bingo to me.
It's happening legally in certain places and it's happening illegally in other places.
Right.
And so let's let's clean it up, regulate it, tax it.
Yep.
I mean,
And the people that want to spend money on it, let them spend money.
Well, and look, we'll never argue that the state doesn't have needs, right? I mean, we look at the state of mental health. We look at the state of health care.
Is the state of mental health at DC?
What's that now?
Is that in DC? That's what we call it now.
No, I'm just saying, that what we invest as a state
Yeah.
in mental
Alabama's
health.
got a big issue.
And look, those things hit home hard here because if you think about it historically, Tuscaloosa is the
Was
mental
mental
health capital of the state.
Alabama, yeah.
So, we've got to do better, and that doesn't always mean spending more money. It could be
Drinking more.
reallocating
Giving them
resources that we already have, but
I just solved it right there.
those problems are getting bigger.
Yeah.
You let the mental health smoke cannabis and then they cure themselves.
There's something to that.
That's probably right.
You ever think about running for office?
Wouldn't make it past the first.
Would you have been in Jeff Hogg's district? Could you have
No.
applied for?
I'm in
Okay.
Jamie's.
All right.
Hey, we got a board member from
Anwar,
the
yeah.
Chamber of Commerce appointed over there. Need to congratulate Anwar.
Yep. Sure.
He's
Try
a
to
good
get him
guy.
on the show, too.
He's
a great
an
guy.
awesome guy.
First
And
class
and I will
in every
say
way.
that we probably won't always see eye to eye on policy, and that's okay.
That's
That's
great.
good. Yeah, it's a good thing.
It's
But
good.
you can talk with him.
Hey, he'll be the first one to come to me and talk to me about
Yep,
it.
he will.
And I feel comfortable enough going to him and talking to him about it.
Yeah.
And that's all you can ask of an elected official.
Yeah. I think Northport did a great thing in electing him or selecting him
No
to take
doubt.
over.
And hope that he's interested in running beyond,
Yep.
fulfilling the rest of this
2025.
term. But,
I hope he's the
need
first
more-
one down the water slide with me.
Need more people like him in
I agree.
elected office.
Well, the little bit you know me, Kyle, they tried to get me to run for District 4 a few years ago. I was like, I'm not doing that. They're like, everybody loves you. You'd be great at it. You'd win. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
So I was told a long time ago by a wise person that the closer you are to your constituency, the harder the job is. And it's like there's no harder position in elected office than a local school board or city council.
Oh, yeah.
Because you get called about everything.
Yeah.
And, emotional
Everybody knows
attachment
you.
to the issues with the school board and those kinds of things. He was like, the only thing worse is a homeowners association or a country club board.
Actually, I got a
It's like, never do it.
Yeah.
I got a big 3 foot by 5 foot defund the HOA flag and hung it outside my house. The wife made me take it down.
I mean, it's just hard,
Yes,
right?
they sent me a letter. I didn't have a tree in my front yard. I ripped it up because it was in the way, cutting my grass. They was like, you got to have a tree.
You got to have a tree.
They're like, at your earliest convenience, plant a tree. So I wrote Pritchett Moore back and said, I'm busy till like 2026.
Is hemp? Is that a tree? Can that be classified as
No,
a tree?
they tell you what kind of tree.
Oh, okay.
Then I then I was drunk one night and I bought a fake tree on Amazon.
This is what he does. Just to get.
Then I was gonna plant it, but they sent me a real tree.
I'm glad you were just outside my district.
But I was like, if I got a fake tree, it'd look good all year.
Yeah.
Then my neighbor who's in his 70s, he put a tree about this tall.
there are such things as like evergreens, right?
Yeah.
That's not on the list. It's got to be an oak, got to be a maple,
Really?
or some other. Can't be a crepe myrtle. I got a big, beautiful crepe myrtle in my front yard, but it's attached to my house because it's in the flower bed. It's got to be outside the flower bed. So I might just rip all that mulch up and just be like, that's not in the flower bed anymore.
I hate HOAs.
I
I
just
hate
keep
them with a
pushing.
passion.
But
I like messing with
they
them.
sometimes do.
They're
good things
needed
and
in sometimes for
yeah.
people like me and Justin. They're definitely
Right.
needed.
So
Like on our, this is way off, but on our neighborhood page, the neighborhood's not finished yet, so Pritchett Moore's still handling the HOA. So they're like, when we finish, we're going to give it over to the neighborhood, which I think is going to be a disaster because I think it should be outside controlled, not somebody that lives there, because somebody that lives there controls the Facebook page. So I posted a video one night, my buddy, I was like, anybody know who this is? He was out here humping my Santa Claus. It got deleted in like 10 minutes. She's like, you can't put that on Facebook. I was like, I was trying to figure out who it was. I was like, this is
It's a legitimate question.
freedom of speech.
jeez. So
Most people in my neighborhood love me, except the Karens. So, did you see me on city council?
Ooh.
And Giovanni tried to get me to do it. He knows me
speaking
better
of viral,
than anybody.
You know, going viral and being an influencer. Giovanni encouraged you to do it?
I was like, you know me. Like, he's like, you'd be great at it. I'm like, you know me. Like, the first city council.
I can't believe he said that.
I know. They kicked me off the first one. Throw in some cuss words.
But you wouldn't quit.
Decorum.
No, I wouldn't. Definitely
You would
wouldn't
not
quit.
quit. You'd go down freaking in a blaze of glory.
Yeah. I wouldn't quit and cry about it.
So what do you think about the water park for economic development in this area?
I hope it works out just like how they have it laid out. Okay. I will be the first to say, Fayette put in a water park, 10 years ago. I wouldn't say that I was its biggest cheerleader.
Right.
I think it's proven me wrong.
Okay.
Like, I would could maybe argue about how the P&L is done on an annual basis. You know, it was bonded out through a sewer bond, where they had to make some upgrades, and so that they don't really realize the debt service every year in that.
Right.
But it's probably more than paid for itself in activity in the community and bringing folks from outside the community. And so it may very well be able to show up, it in the black in that P&L, provided that. I will say
it wasn't $350 million though, was it?
It wasn't, but I mean, you're pitching to a totally different audience too, I will say that probably the one concern that I have from that experience with Fayette, and I've passed it along to these guys too, workforce is an issue when it comes to that. Do you know that the state of Alabama, youth employment in the state of Alabama is the lowest in the country? And that's who you're going to have to depend on.
See, we would know that if Fitz came on the show, we would know that.
Yeah. But
that is true.
Lifeguards are hard to come by.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got to go through a training process. You've got to have double the number it takes to operate because, they got to rotate in and out, and you got some long hours out there, and insurance is going to dictate how many you have to have on premise and all this kind of stuff. And that I understand the financial questions that are out there. Right. I think they could overcome that. It's a proof of concept kind of thing. Yeah. But I do worry about being able to supply the workforce.
Yeah. It's a big place for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Can we not get Donnie on that?
Donnie will be front and center if we need him to be.
I think Donnie would be a good lifeguard in the Speedo out there.
He can swim.
So, look, super excited about the ballpark, the river park,
River Run
Park.
Yeah, I got the runs at River Run.
Yeah,
I made a T-shirt.
Well, I'm super excited about that. All the water park stuff. It could really be.
Northport needs to be the Opelika of Auburn. I mean, Opelika to me is just it's phenomenal downtown with the distilleries but I'm a drinker, so I like that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that keeps people.
But it totally does, and like I said,
it creates a cool factor.
It's a draw to the community, all those kinds of things, and there's some needs out there as we look at kind of the community as a whole and the region.
So, like we said before, just stuff to do in town, whether it's Northport, Tuscaloosa, wherever, like to stay here.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know how the Montgomery did the Whitewater Park. Okay, and it was a huge investment down there too.
I want to go check that out. It looks really cool.
Yeah, and I've been out there, but I haven't done it and all those kinds of things. But I'll tell you, with that was one of those things where the base basically came to the city and said, "Hey, we have a hard time recruiting and keeping people here.
Yeah, there's nothing to do there
And so that was a lot of the decision making in investing in that. And you can judge it however you want to, but I'm going to tell you I think 2,000 people that work on the base over there. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
and it's right next door, and it's something cool, and
So it should-
it's
We need to go down there.
Something that they can show off when they have people coming in from
Yeah.
other bases, and so
That's what
I,
we should-
I get the broad picture of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should build a base here. That's what we should do. Should present that to city council. Don't they have like a public thing where you can just go there and talk?
Sign it up.
Like, I got an idea.
Hey,
Y'all should build a
you don't
military
need to
base.
get that close with Walt. where you're up there talking every week. Hey, can we do this?
Maybe like on the agenda next, Justin.
Hey, good to see you again this week. Great outfit.
They got some people like that at Northports.
Yeah, they do.
They're like, here's so and so. Here's Bobby. What you got to say?
Hey,
Yeah, I could be that guy.
it's good to have the community involved. You should be more scared when you show up to a big meeting, like whether it be the water park or whatever,
And nobody shows.
Nobody's there. That's when you should be concerned.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Did you have the same people that contacted you over every issue, like when you were a state rep?
Yeah, the majority were kind of the
Repeat
same folks.
offenders?
Yeah, you had people that paid more attention to what was
Right.
going on down there, and you had people that I could have told you before they
Paid
ever.
more attention.
I could have told you before
Karens.
they ever
He's saying
called
Karens.
where they lined up on an issue.
Yeah.
Okay, but it got your attention when you got folks out of the norm
Yeah.
that said,
Calling.
"Hey, this
You knew
is
this was
important
big.
to me."
Yeah.
That's when it gets your attention. So, because I mean, we all have friends. I mean, I had a lot of friends across my entire district, and you start getting calls from folks that are just fringe politically.
Yeah.
Paying attention, and you start saying putting the alerts up anyway.
Some sleepless nights, stressful nights.
So had a few of those.
What was your biggest issue that people were more concerned about that you ever had to deal with?
So probably the hardest vote that I ever had to take, and today it's maybe one of the ones that I'm most proud of, was the gas tax. I mean, the majority of the public did not want that.
Right.
They saw the need, but just didn't want to pay for it. Didn't trust that it would go to where we said it would go, and do the projects that we kind of laid out there. I would say that folks in Tuscaloosa at this point wish that we hadn't done that for a totally different reason. Everybody's been tired of orange cones, but it's like my buddy Bill Poole said. He told everybody that called him, he was like, well, guys, I want more orange cones than less.
That's true.
He was like, we need it. We need infrastructure. We need the ability to grow and those kinds of things. And my first priority, like if you ask me, what is the one thing that you would like to accomplish while you're serving in the legislature, and you would say at the end of this it was a success, was getting a 4-lane highway in Fayette, which was my hometown. We'd been talking about it since the 70s, those kinds of things. It was funded at one point, and or proposed to be funded at one point, and it was kind of peeled out, those kinds of things for the Western Corridor. And we're starting to see progress on that. The governor committed to connecting, Fayette. There were, at the time, I think 12 counties maybe across the state that didn't have 4-lane connections. I served 2 of them. And that's the one promise that I wanted in order to be able to support that piece of legislation. And so they've designed a piece of that for Fayette County. Now, is it what I would like to see? Like, I'd rather the Western Corridor be truly a Western Corridor and it go through the northern part of Tuscaloosa County all the way up. But if you kind of peel the layers of the onion back, that stretch in the northern part of Tuscaloosa County would be the most expensive by far of that Western Corridor because of the lake. You got to cross the lake multiple times.
Is that what Gerald was trying to get done?
No, Gerald's talking
Snuck
about
his
it.
way in.
Eastern bypass, and so
I heard that was a shit show. I was drove up on the
probably
bridge.
probably be some concerns there.
All the news was out there. I'm like, is that Gary Harris? I was like, he's out there on news. And then I saw it. I was like, no, it's Jared Allen.
Yeah, Gerald and I have had some good conversations about that. You know, that Eastern Bypass would go right through the middle of High Grove and the towns, and so
Good luck on that.
I remember they were supposed.
I mean, look, when it was designed 30 years ago,
Yeah. It
would've been
none
great.
Of that, none
It
of that
shoulda
was
happened.
there.
I'm saying like
Yeah.
because my parents bought a house on 216, they
Right.
were going to buy it in Summerfield. I remember, and they were
Yeah.
like, "No, the bypass is going through there," so
Yeah.
they got one down the road, and
Right.
I was in high school then, elementary school probably.
So, you know, a lot of, I mean, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think they had put like a $1.8 billion number on it. I think because of all the growth in those areas that it touches, I don't think 1.8 billion would touch it.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going through all through those. That ain't going to happen.
And so in order for it to go forward, like you have to show the revenue for the match, which is what Gerald's trying to do, but it also can't significantly change path, or you have to go back and reapply for the federal funds, and so
Yeah.
that's where it gets complicated.
Yeah.
So, not to say that there isn't a need, or you know, obviously more infrastructure is better.
Yeah. Definitely a need. It's just logistics and
It's hard, and then you start trying to redesign, and then the lake issue comes back in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was the northernmost point that you could go without having to cross the lake. So
So where do you get your tax revenue for electric vehicles?
So
As that gets more and more.
No. So you know, through Rebuild Alabama, there was a registration fee that was put on
Okay, so you get it up front?
EVs, and
every year?
every year.
Okay.
I used to have a Tesla, so every year it'd be like
Yeah.
$200 more.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
buy
it's-
gas.
And your license or tag or whatever?
I don't buy gas.
So it's like $150 for that. Maybe there's a small fee for a hybrid or something. Maybe
It was like $250 on my Tesla.
wasn't. So
My
anyway,
car tag
Okay.
was like $600 a year.
I still don't think that's the answer.
Right.
Like, if everybody drove an electric vehicle, like it still doesn't, it pales in comparison to gas tax.
tax. Yeah.
And so I don't know what that is. I think there's some people that are smarter than me that could figure out, you know, maybe a utility tax, because we're going to generate more utility tax if you're plugging your car into the wall, that kind of thing.
But the only
And
thing
it's
is-
spilling over into the road and bridge fund.
When you're plugging in your Alabama Power, and that's it. Where I can go to any gas
right.
station.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know Alabama Power's got deep pockets.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
but how do you, is that the only option? I mean, is
Yeah.
Alabama Power
Yeah. I mean,
and will be?
so, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that looks like futuristically.
Yeah.
You know, you could see third party sellers of wholesale, you know, that Alabama Power could be the
Like the
wholesale
phone used to be,
provider
yeah.
and, you know, sell to somebody else that could then do it. But, you know, we're a long ways from having the infrastructure in place to be able to even
Yeah.
get to that point, right? There are investments being made, but we're still quite a ways from it.
We are Alabama.
And we're going to probably be one of the later adopters of any of that
Can't
stuff,
wait till I
right?
get my Cybertruck so I can charge it and
Yeah.
get some lotto tickets and smoke weed while it charges. all at
Pick me up when you do
all
that.
at my Indian buddy's gas station.
So
Shout out to Bree. You know he'd love that.
When you pay cash, does that cash get reported?
Probably.
Okay. I'll
and
figure it
and I mean, on that front, like they're already working on new technologies too beyond just electric,
Yeah.
you know, hydro, whatever. And so, who knows where
Yeah.
all that's going? I think it's awesome. You know,
I agree.
I'm ready for the Jetsons to be here.
I did see one thing. So like, we're never going to have a flying car. They're like, watch a little drone take off and all the dust that goes everywhere. Imagine like a 5-ton car. Like, it wouldn't work.
Oh, it'll happen.
Probably.
If Elon gets behind it, it'll happen.
Maybe.
So it's fun to think about those things, but it is also very challenging to make policy
Yeah.
to be thinking
The future.
20 years down
Yeah.
the road. Because I mean, you've seen all that's changed in the past 20.
So
Hard to do.
to wrap it up, close it out, what's the most famous person you met
Most famous person I've met.
That's a good one.
during your politic
As
eras?
far as politics,
It doesn't have to be a
Political.
It doesn't
Yeah,
have to be a
yeah,
political.
okay.
I mean,
I'd
it
like
could
to
be
hear
a
a
political.
political.
Okay, it could
Yeah,
be
or
a
both,
political.
yeah.
Both. Or just
So-
like because you're at that position,
Yeah.
I'm at so and so. Like
That's a good question. So, met a ton of presidential candidates over the years.
Any presidents?
No. Had the opportunity to go. Obama was coming to Birmingham when he was still serving. I was a little bit timid, to be honest with you, about the look. We all had to get reelected and those kinds of things.
Which is terrible that it's like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's
like we
terrible.
said before, it's
Right.
like shouldn't matter.
Yeah,
Right.
Shouldn't
That's
matter
the
at
president
all.
of the United
Yeah,
States.
That's right.
That's when he
you're
flew in.
respecting the office.
Yeah, when
Yes.
he flew in after the tornado came through, I went to the airport and watched his plane land.
Dang
and
right.
somebody was like,
Yep.
cussing me out, like, why you? I was like, I don't care. That's the president landing
is the president.
5 miles from my house. Like, that's pretty cool.
Right.
You might hate him, might not like him, might
Yep.
be diehard Republican. I was like, but it's still Air Force One fixing to land. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's respecting the office.
And there are people out there flicking them off. I'm like, y'all are so dumb. Like,
Yep.
I'm sure he's paying attention to y'all.
No question. Been in the same place as Trump before, but never got to have a one-on-one interaction. Marco Rubio had the opportunity to have a conversation there. So maybe Ted Cruz.
And Senator Shelby's
Oh hell, he's
more
right
important
up
than
yeah, he's right up
I mean,
there at the
bigger
top
than
of
all
that
those.
list,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
Did you ever work with him on?
So never on an issue type thing,
Right.
I love, he is the best example of what I think politics should be in so many ways. One, he made it a goal way back when to visit all 67 counties every year, and damn, that's hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As much as they're in Washington, and
Yeah.
he got around. So the first thing I did when I came into the chamber, I said, I want to go meet with every investor that invests in what we're doing here. And I want to do that every single year.
Yeah.
Because I think I owe
And that's
it to 'em.
hard.
And I was doing it selfishly in some ways
Right.
because I wanted to be able to go meet with them without having to ask for something. Because I knew that ask was coming at some
Right.
point,
For sure.
right?
It's
I mean, it's part of the role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to go and ask for input and, how we can serve you better in what we do here without having to ask for something in return.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for us to do that consistently. And he was a great example of that. So,
Any celebrities? Non-political?
Cuban, I think, I'm trying to think who else.
Ever meet any strippers?
No,
Okay. That was pretty quick.
none of those, thank goodness.
Do you believe in term limits, or there should be term limits?
So,
As a politician, I
Thank you for
think
asking
that's
that
important.
question. Thank you for asking that question. So
I believe in them.
So I don't.
Okay.
And let me tell you a couple of different things, and then I'll get into the whys. Okay. So an older gentleman that served with me, we actually
Might need a drink for that.
shared the office suite together. He called me out in the hall one day, and I didn't know what he wanted. I mean, I looked up to him. He was a mentor in a lot of different ways. The 2010 Republican class in the legislature was the biggest Republican. That was the Republican wave. It was the biggest class ever elected. Those kinds of things. And he called me out there, and there's a picture on the wall of that. The entire legislature for that year. He's like, Kyle, there were 32, 33, I forget the number, Republicans elected in 2010. And this was, I guess, as we were running for this past term, so 12 years later, he was like, guess how many are left? And I was like, man, I served with them. I don't know. He was like, 2. There are 2 left serving. He was like, if anybody says anything about term limits, we have them. They're called elections. So
Even on the federal level, though.
so hear my argument on the federal level, okay? So what I would propose if I was ruler for the day is that if you want to put term limits on the House, put term limits on the House, but at the same time you need to extend the terms. So that the problem that I see in Congress is they never stop running. They have to run every 2 years. So they're always in campaign mode. They're always in fundraising mode. Like, let them serve a period of time where the window for fundraising's closed, and you can take a tough vote and do some things that need to get done at the federal level. Like, and then if you want to say, hey, you can't serve but 16 years, hey, so be it. I think the Senate, I would argue, doesn't need that. You need the institutional long-term knowledge, because guess who isn't going away? The bureaucrats are not going away, and the lobbyists are never going away.
Right.
And if they're the only ones with institutional knowledge, guess who's getting screwed over?
Yeah.
It's me and you, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay? And I've got a ton of friends that are lobbyists. I would say at the state level, I depended on them for information, and you have to. And I think they get a bad rap a lot of times, in that all they have is their word.
Right.
And if they ever break that word one time, you're never going to trust them again. And that's all they've got. You know what I mean? Because if I'm not going to allow you to come in and pitch, whatever you're pitching today, because you lied to me about something else, then you have no value. You don't have a job.
Yeah.
So I do think the term limit thing is more complicated. I know it sounds good, but
you have it on presidents.
You do.
So why would you not have it on?
We also,
I get the House. I get exactly what you're saying.
You know what
on
I'm saying?
That. Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, Russia doesn't have one. Look how well they're doing.
I honestly feel that dictatorships, at some point, you have a long-term goal that you can go towards, where you every 4 years you're changing,
You're always
and you're
pivoting.
going back and forth. And I'm not saying it's good, but I'm saying for the country,
Right.
I think it helps.
Well,
You get shit done.
right.
Germany was pretty dominant.
There was a time.
Well, what was it? You had a age limit at one point too, and you can't run for the Senate until you're 30, and so much of that stuff is it changed a lot.
Should you have to be an American citizen or born in America to run?
And a lot.
Should you have to be though?
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah. And a lot of that policy was put in place when life expectancy wasn't in your 50s.
Right.
So there was no such thing as serving for.
But you see lifetime politicians now that I feel like are out of touch with everyday people.
Yeah.
Don't never go grocery shopping. Never know what a grocery bill is.
Yeah.
That's
It's a
my only
balance,
concern.
and it's a hard balance.
Yeah.
Is all I'm saying. It's not as simple.
You
as
need to
just,
find the answer and make that happen.
And politicians are never going to elect or vote to
Yeah.
kind of limit their own
Yeah.
voice.
Exactly.
But I would say it would worry me especially at the federal level, not maybe as much at the state level, but that we would turn the keys to the car over to the bureaucrats that are there for they're
That's a good point.
truly there for a lifetime.
Do they run the country or does the politicians? Just being honest.
I can't speak to what goes on at the federal
At the
level,
federal
'cause
level.
I've never experienced that. At the state level, you do have a good bit of turnover. The cabinet heads,
Right.
Secretaries are appointed by the governor, and you get some turnover in leadership there, enough to kind of keep everybody a little bit of fresh.
I still think Obama's running the country. It's another
You're
rabbit
in the
hole.
rabbit hole. Goodness.
So he was over there in England meeting with people. He was on the plane with Biden.
Didn't he make a movie too?
Yeah, he made a movie. The cruise ship. No, not cruise ship. The cargo ship that hit the beach. And
Was he on Epstein's Island?
No,
Oh my.
He
he
wasn't.
might have been.
Okay.
Oh, it's all gonna come out. Y'all gonna know I was right.
You think Diddy was there? You think Diddy's got his own island?
Yeah, he does.
Diddy Island?
He does.
Goodness.
Thank you for coming on.
No, thank
I know
you,
we
guys.
rabbit holed towards the end, but
That's all right.
My life.
Well, if I got myself in trouble, y'all can bail me out, right?
yeah.
Okay.
We got you.
All right.
Thank you. You did
I
well.
appreciate it, guys. Yeah.
Close it out. You got anything you want to add?
All good, man. Thank you again.
Appreciate it.
You sure? Robot voice.
You're the king of rabbit hole.
Boozy Spirits with Matt Ray and Justin Grimble.
This is all you could ever ask for, Mike.